Chapter 1. Welcome to the circus. You ever have one of those jobs where your survival depends on pretending you're not 2 seconds away from a public meltdown?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Empire Lux Hotel. I'm Ethan, front desk agent, professional fake smiler, career-level sarcasm dispenser. Also, apparently the only person in this place who doesn't think penthouse guest means demigod. I was just finishing my 4th cup of burnt lobby coffee when the chaos began. Front desk. This is Ethan. How may I assist you? There was a pause, then a throat clear, then a poetic sigh. I seek inner tranquility. I blinked. Great. I suggest yoga and noise-canceling headphones. I'm in the penthouse, the voice continued dramatically, but the energy up here is jarring. Sir, it's a 360 degrees view of Manhattan. The energy is supposed to be jarring. Another sigh. Send up someone who understands vibes. Click. I stared at the phone like it had just insulted my mother. You okay? My coworker Nia smirked from the bell desk, already enjoying the show. Yeah. Just had a spiritual awakening with a penthouse guest who thinks he's a crystal. And then he walked in. Golden curls, bare chest, silk robe, Gucci slides, holding a tiny dog with a rhinestone collar that cost more than my rent. Front desk guy, he sang, voice like a Disney prince on edibles. I'm Luca. You must be my emotional support concierge. I blinked. I must be your what now? He handed me his dog. Just plopped the rat-sized creature into my hands and walked behind the desk like he worked here. So, Ethan, he said, eyes scanning the lobby. I've decided to live here for a month. Maybe 2. Depends on my chakras. I stared at him, horrified, clutching the dog like it was a ticking bomb. Sir, you can't be behind the desk. Boundaries are a social construct. Oh God. He turned to me and grinned. I sense sarcasm in your aura. I like that. It's like cinnamon. Spicy and repressed. I didn't know whether to laugh or call security. Then, as if summoned by demons, the elevator dinged, and 3 bellboys spilled out, dragging a pyramid of luggage that looked like it was smuggled out of Versailles. Luca clasped his hands. My things. Ethan, darling, come help. I brought a gong. A what? It's for ambience. I followed the luggage parade to the penthouse, mostly because his dog had started licking my chin and I didn't know how to make it stop. The elevator groaned under the weight of 26 matching monogrammed Louis Vuitton trunks. Luca floated beside me like a feather in a perfume commercial. I'm here on a soul-searching retreat, he announced. In Midtown Manhattan? Silence is too loud in the woods, he whispered. I choked on a laugh. You're allergic to silence, aren't you? And shirts, he winked. They restrict emotional flow. By the time we got to the penthouse, I had a crick in my neck, 3 herniated dreams, and a weird crush I didn't ask for. The room was a palace, floor-to-ceiling windows, a fireplace I'm pretty sure was imported from an actual castle, and art that looked like a toddler had an emotional breakdown on canvas. Luca threw himself onto the velvet sofa, robe fluttering like drama incarnate. Ethan, he purred. Would you like to hear my poetry? I'd rather jump down the elevator shaft. He beamed. You're perfect. And that was the moment I knew I was utterly, dangerously, deliciously screwed. Chapter 2. Tragic Verses and Towel Trauma. If I'd known Luca's idea of a soul-searching retreat involved performing spontaneous slam poetry in the hotel lobby, I would have called in sick for a month. Instead, I found myself staring down the barrel of a guest services disaster. One that rhymed. It all started with a single, fateful sentence over the hotel intercom. Attention guests, prepare your hearts. I will now be expressing my inner wounds through free verse. My soul left my body. I sprinted into the lobby just in time to find Luca, barefoot, shirtless, as usual, and dramatically perched on a luggage cart like it was a Broadway stage. He held a champagne flute in one hand and a mic he definitely stole from the bar in the other. Pain, he began, eyes closed. Nope, I muttered, marching over. We are not doing performance art hour. He shushed me. The bellboy broke my incense burner. he said to the gathering crowd, which shattered, like my faith in humanity. A couple of tourists clapped. I wanted to die. Luca, I hissed, grabbing his arm. You cannot hijack the lobby like it's your own private therapy center. He looked at me with big, glassy eyes. But Ethan, the people need healing. I need a raise. We wrestled for the mic like two caffeinated drag queens fighting over karaoke. Eventually I pried it out of his hands and apologized to the guests, many of whom looked vaguely traumatized or worse, intrigued. Later that day, I filed a strongly worded incident report titled, Guest 703, Emotional Disturbance and Unapproved Theatricality. Corporate would love it. I was just finishing my shift when the real chaos began. The elevator broke. Broke. Stuck between floors, guests trapped inside, and me somehow holding a wet towel and a walkie-talkie as if I could fix anything. The cherry on top, Luca's voice crackling through the radio like a melodramatic ghost. Ethan, I'm trapped. It's dark and humid. This might be the end. My eye twitched. You're on floor 27, Luca. Calm down. I'm sweating through my silk pants. This is a violation of basic human rights. Breathe deeply. And please do not take your pants off. Too late. By the time I got maintenance on the scene, Luca had used his bathrobe to flag down attention through the elevator crack and was shouting, Tell my followers I died fabulously. When we finally pried the doors open and he emerged, shirtless and glowing with drama sweat, he collapsed against me like a fainting Victorian widow. Oh, Ethan, he gasped. I saw the light. It was fluorescent and judgmental. I really tried not to look at his chest, but it was there, very much there, glorious and glistening and way too close. Get off me, I grumbled, but I didn't push him that hard. He smirked. You smell like sarcasm and cinnamon gum. You smell like chaos and overpriced cologne. We were still pressed chest to chest, awkwardly locked in some kind of accidental embrace, when the elevator dinged behind us and a family of 4 stepped out. The mom gave me a thumbs up. Luca winked at me, and I decided I needed therapy. Immediately. Later, back at the front desk, Nia leaned over and said, You two have the sexual tension of a Netflix series. I snorted. We have the sexual tension of a chemical spill. But I wasn't fooling anyone, especially not myself, because when Luca passed by a few minutes later, towel slung over one bare shoulder and grinning like a fallen angel, my heart did something annoying. It skipped. Chapter 3, Oiled Intentions and Rooftop Confessions. If someone had told me I'd be massaging essential oils into a spoiled millionaire's back before noon, I would have laughed, choked on my mediocre coffee, and filed a restraining order. But there I was, Tuesday morning, rubbing eucalyptus oil into Luca's shoulders with one hand and dialing internal screaming to max volume with the other. Let me explain. It all started when our spa receptionist called in sick. Then the massage therapist. Then the backup massage therapist. Guess who was the only available staff member not currently cleaning up a margarita flood on the 12th floor? Yours truly. Ethan, Nia said sweetly, shoving a small bottle into my hand. Luca requested an in-room aromatherapy massage. It's this or he does it himself. On Instagram Live. So I took the damn bottle. I knocked on the penthouse door and fully intended to hand it off and flee like a responsible adult. But when Luca opened the door, wrapped in nothing but a towel and ambition, I short-circuited. Ethan, he purred, voice like velvet dipped in champagne. Are you my massage therapist today? How intimate. I'm not touching you, I said, holding up the oil like it might burn me. 10 minutes later, I was elbow deep in his shoulder blades, cursing the entire hospitality industry. God, you're tense? I muttered, trying not to breathe in his intoxicating scent. Do you clench during poetry or just emotionally in general? He laughed. It was soft and low and real. Maybe I tense up when cute front desk agents touch me. I paused mid-stroke. Do you flirt with everyone who rubs eucalyptus into your spine? Only the ones who glare at me like it's foreplay. Touché. After that, I tried not to say anything, mostly because my mouth kept forgetting its filter and my brain was busy processing how ridiculously soft his skin was. Eventually, he rolled over and looked up at me. Eyes wide, smile lazy, towel barely hanging on. "Ethan," he said softly, "do you ever let anyone see the real you? I work customer service. The real me died 3 years ago." He grinned. "You're deflecting. I'm surviving." He reached out, fingers grazing my wrist. It was such a small touch, but it felt electric. "I think you're afraid to be vulnerable," he said. "And I think you're addicted to shirtlessness." I shot back, but my voice cracked a little. We stared at each other for a beat too long. Then the fire alarm went off. Apparently, someone had set a candle too close to the velvet curtains. Guess who? Cue chaos. 30 minutes later, after emergency services cleared the non-fire, I found Luca on the rooftop, wrapped in a hoodie for once, staring out at the skyline like he was narrating a tragic indie movie. I walked up next to him, still smelling like eucalyptus and regret. "You know," I said, "if this was a movie, this would be the part where we kiss under the stars." He looked over, eyes serious for once. "If this was a movie, would you kiss me back?" My breath caught. "You're not serious." "I'm always serious at inconvenient times." I didn't say anything. Not at first. But then he stepped closer, slow, careful, like maybe this was real and not just another one of his ridiculous games. And for a second, I leaned in too. The air between us was warm, tense, electric. Then, of course, my walkie-talkie exploded with static. "Ethan, do not let him touch the candles again." I groaned. Luca laughed. The moment shattered, but the tension? Still very much alive. Chapter 4: Truth, Dares, and Dangerously Close Encounters. It started with a wine tasting. It ended with my shirt halfway off, my heart in my throat, and Luca saying my name like it meant something. So yeah, just another normal night at Hotel Disasters and Desire. Luca, in his infinite chaos, had convinced the hotel's event coordinator to host an exclusive soulful wine journey on the rooftop. Private, candlelit, for 2. Spoiler, the guest list was just me and him. I told them it was a spiritual bonding exercise, he said, handing me a glass of Pinot with the smirk of someone who had never once in their life followed rules or recipes. "I thought you didn't drink," I said. "I don't," he replied, sipping dramatically. "But I make exceptions for emotionally repressed desk agents who need to unwind." "You're insufferable. You're stunning when you're annoyed." I snorted and took a sip. 1 glass turned into 3. 3 glasses turned into us lying on our backs on a velvet blanket, half drunk and way too comfortable. "So," Luca said, tipping his head toward me, "truth or dare?" I raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? Come on, Ethan. Don't pretend you're too grown up for childhood trauma games." "Fine. Truth." He grinned, already plotting my destruction. "What's the real reason you never smile when I flirt with you?" I stared at the sky. "I do," I said quietly. "I just wait until you're not looking." The smirk on his face disappeared, replaced by something softer, warmer. "Your turn," he said. "Truth or dare?" "Dare." I grinned. "Dangerous. Take off your shirt." He blinked. "That's not a dare, Ethan. That's a lifestyle choice. Humor me." He pulled the shirt over his head slowly, teasing, dramatic, ridiculous as always. But when it was gone, and he just sat there, half lit by candlelight and completely unguarded, I forgot how to breathe. "Your turn," he whispered. "Truth or dare?" "Truth." His eyes locked on mine. "Do you want me?" My chest tightened. The wine buzz vanished. Only honesty remained. "Yes," I said, barely a whisper. "But I don't trust you." His expression didn't flicker, but something in him shifted, like he wasn't playing anymore. "I don't blame you," he murmured. "Most people only stick around for the curated version. Then maybe stop curating." Silence. Heavy. Humming. And then, he leaned in. Slow. Careful. Intentional. His breath brushed my lips. His hand hovered just above my cheek. But right before our mouths met, boom, The rooftop light exploded. A fuse blew. The whole terrace plunged into darkness and the sprinklers sputtered like they were threatening to rain. Luca groaned. The universe hates foreplay. I laughed. Half from nerves, half from sheer disbelief. We're cursed. He leaned close again, this time resting his forehead against mine. Then let's burn beautifully. Chapter 5. X marks the meltdown. The thing about working in a luxury hotel in Manhattan? You meet every kind of guest. The sweet honeymooners, the nightmare influencers, the celebrities trying to hide behind bad sunglasses, and, occasionally, your emotionally manipulative ex-boyfriend who checks in under the name Sebastian Storm. I wish I was joking. I was restocking mints at the front desk when I heard the voice that used to whisper sweet nothings and then vanish for 3 days without texting back. Ethan? I froze, turned, and there he was, in all his pastel scarf-wearing, cologne-clouded glory. Sebastian freaking Storm, looking at me like I was a perfectly glazed dessert he forgot he loved. Wow, he said, with that fake soft smile that used to work on me. You look incredible. I looked down at my uniform. I was covered in pen ink and what might have been biscotti crumbs. What do you want, Sebastian? I asked flatly. He gave a dramatic sigh. Leaning on the counter like this was a 2000s rom-com and I was still stupid enough to fall for his tragic artist charm. I'm in town for a gallery opening. Staying a few nights. Thought maybe we could reconnect. Before I could tell him where to stick his reconnecting, Luca appeared. Shirtless again. Holding a tray of macarons. Wearing sunglasses. Night. I brought snacks, he announced, dramatically popping one into his mouth. Then he saw Sebastian and froze mid-chew. Sebastian turned, blinked, and smiled like a viper with Botox. And who's this? This, I said a little too fast, is Luca, a guest. A very clingy guest. Luca raised an eyebrow. Clingy? I prefer devoted. Sebastian smirked. Ah, so you've upgraded to the flirty disaster model. Luca stepped forward, chest out, sugar-dusted lips curled into something dangerous. At least I didn't disappear on him for 2 weeks and then blame Mercury retrograde. I choked on air. Boys, I snapped. This is not a duel. Sebastian handed me his room key with a wink. Room 805. In case you miss my chaos. I didn't even reply. Later that night, I found myself alone in the elevator with Luca, heading to the penthouse. Tension between us thick enough to cut with a keycard. So, he said, voice casual, that was the ex? Yeah. He's punchable. He's also exactly why I don't trust people who flirt for fun. Luca turned to me, serious now. I flirt to distract. But with you, it's not just fun, Ethan. That's when the elevator jolted. Not broke, just jolted. But it was enough to make me stumble forward. Right into Luca's arms. Hands on his chest. Eyes inches from his. Seriously, I whispered. Flushed. Is this building cursed? No, he said. Just perfectly timed. And then he kissed me. Hard, sweet, unapologetic. His hand cupped my jaw. My fingers curled into his shirt. And for a moment the rest of the world faded. When we pulled apart, breathless, he looked at me like I was the only real thing in the room. I want more than just flirting, Ethan. I swallowed. Then prove it. The elevator dinged. Penthouse. But something had already shifted between us. And it wasn't just the floor number. Chapter 6. Breakfast, blushes, and one-star scandals. I woke up in Luca's bed. Fully clothed. Mostly. Don't get too excited, we hadn't gone there yet. But we'd made out like teenagers at a drive-in movie until my brain stopped functioning. And sometime around 3 a.m., I passed out mid-complaint on his obscenely soft bed while he read me poetry. The last thing I remembered was him whispering, "You don't have to be perfect to be loved." But how dare he? I groaned, sat up, and immediately got hit with the smell of eggs. Luca stood in the kitchenette shirtless, as always, flipping an omelet like a domestic fantasy and humming Taylor Swift. "Morning sunshine," he said, sliding the omelet onto a plate. Hope you like breakfast with a side of flirty tension. I blinked at the feast. Fluffy eggs, croissants, strawberries, and fresh squeezed juice. Did you cook this? Ethan, please. I supervised the chef and made sure everything looked Instagram-worthy. I'm not a savage. I laughed despite myself and sat down. You're ridiculous. And yet, here you are, still in my bed. I was about to respond with something snarky when my walkie-talkie crackled to life. Ethan, we've got a problem. A guest in 903 just left a review that says, "Front desk agent seen sneaking into penthouse late at night. Very unprofessional. Also hot. But unprofessional." I nearly choked on my juice. Luca, on the other hand, looked delighted. I'm hot and controversial? Be still my chaotic heart. I grabbed the walkie. Copy that. I was delivering towels. Very fluffy towels. You were gone for 5 hours, Ethan. Big towels. I hung up and groaned. Luca smirked. So, we're officially hotel gossip? I'll be lucky if I'm not officially fired. His smirk softened into something more sincere. Then let me talk to management. I'll say I kidnapped you for aromatherapy therapy. That's not a thing. It is now. We sat in silence for a moment. The city buzzed below us. Inside this ridiculous glass penthouse, everything felt suspended. Like maybe this chaos could be home. So what now? I asked. Luca tilted his head. Now, you take a day off. Hang out with me. No uniforms. No walls. Just Ethan. I stared at him. No flirting. He grinned. Can't promise that. But I'll try. Fine. One day. We spent the rest of it watching bad rom-coms, trying to guess which guests were secretly famous, and having an impromptu pillow fight that may or may not have involved me falling face first into his abs. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed. Not because it was easy, but because, for the first time in years, it felt right. Chapter 7, Gala Gowns, Ghosts and Grinding on the Dance Floor. If the hotel had a most likely to self-destruct in glitter award, tonight would have won by a landslide. The annual Kingsley Grand Charity Gala was the event of the year. Think black tie, bottomless champagne, and enough drama to power a telenovela. Every staff member was on high alert, and I was supposed to be working. Emphasis on supposed to. Luca had a different plan. You're coming with me, he said, tossing a suit bag onto my bed. As my date. Obviously. I blinked. I'm working the coat check. Not tonight, you're not. I bribed your manager with Broadway tickets and the promise of 3 fewer noise complaints this month. I stared at the tux, then at Luca already looking like sin in silk. This isn't a date, I said. He smirked. Sure. And I totally wore cologne named Heartbreaker and Honey for me. The ballroom was bathed in gold light. Waiters glided like swans. The chandeliers sparkled. And somewhere between the ice sculpture of Poseidon and the champagne fountain, I realized I wasn't breathing. Luca took my hand without asking. Relax. You're the hottest guy here. I checked. You've only been here 6 minutes. That's all it took. And then I saw him. Not Luca. My brother, James, looking right at me. He was dressed in a charcoal suit, hair slicked back, flanked by hotel board members. Because of course he was on the board. And of course he didn't know about Luca. He stormed over with that classic older brother energy, equal parts concern and judgment. Ethan, what is this? Hi. Good to see you too. Don't get smart with me. Are you dating that guy? The one who filed a noise complaint over yoga breathing. I don't think you're supposed to know about guest complaints. Luca slipped beside me, smiling like he hadn't just been insulted by a man in a bow tie. Hi, Luca. Walking red flag. Also Ethan's date. James stared. You're kidding. Luca leaned in. I don't kid. I smolder. I thought my brother might combust. But before things could go nuclear, the music shifted. Soft jazz turned to something slow and sultry. The dance floor beckoned. Luca extended his hand. Dance with me. I hesitated. People were watching. James was glaring. My heart was threatening to tap dance out of my chest. But I said yes. He pulled me in close. Too close. His hand slid around my waist like he owned me. Relax, he whispered. No one here matters. You matter, I said. Quiet. Real. He looked stunned for half a second. Then we danced. Slow. Intimate. Like the room had melted away. And when he dipped me, yes, dipped me. Right in the center of the ballroom, his lips ghosted my ear. I want all of you, Ethan. Not just your sarcasm. I flushed head to toe. Then someone gasped. Loud. From behind. We turned and saw a hotel employee standing there with their phone. Filming. Oh no, I muttered. Oh yes, Luca said. We're going viral, baby. Chapter 8. Bathtubs, backlash, and barely behaving. I woke up to 43 missed calls, a splitting headache, and a hotel-wide email titled, Professional Conduct and Viral Sensations. A friendly reminder. Luca, blissfully unaware, was soaking in the world's most unnecessarily luxurious marble bathtub, surrounded by lavender bubbles and wearing nothing but a smirk. Ethan, darling, he called, raising his mimosa. Did we break the internet? We broke protocol, I groaned, holding up my phone. Someone filmed our dance last night. It's on TikTok. Over 100,000 views. Hashtags include hashtag hot hotel romance, hashtag dip me daddy, and oh god, hashtag Ethan is blushing. Luca beamed. I knew that dip would trend. I buried my face in my hands. Do you ever take anything seriously? He sobered, the humor fading just a little. I take you seriously. The words hit harder than they should have. Maybe because they were the first thing all week that sounded 100% genuine. I have a meeting with management at noon, I muttered. They're probably going to fire me. I'll talk to them. No. No more Luca magic. I need to fix this myself. He watched me for a long second, bubbles sliding down his arms. You're scared. I'm furious, I corrected, because I knew this would happen. You make everything feel like a movie, and you think it's not real. Silence. He stood, dripping and glorious and completely unbothered by modesty. I turned away mostly, but he didn't care. He stepped out, wrapped a towel around his waist and said, I've never been more real with anyone in my life. Ethan, you scare the hell out of me, because when you look at me, I feel like I might finally be enough. My heart slammed into my ribs. You're too much, I whispered. You hijack my life like it's a rom-com script. Maybe that's because I want to be your leading man. There it was. Raw. Unfiltered. No jokes. Just him. Just us. And I didn't know what scared me more, losing my job or losing this reckless, loud, chaotic man who somehow saw through all my armor. Later that day, I stood in front of the hotel's general manager, bracing myself for the worst. But instead of pink slips, I got promotion. Apparently, the TikTok had spun public attention in our favor. Bookings were up. Guests were calling the front desk just to ask if the cute agent with the dramatic boyfriend would answer. And Mr. Luca, the manager added, has generously offered to fund a new guest services lounge in your name, Ethan's Corner. I stormed into Luca's suite that evening, fists clenched. You bribed them, he shrugged. I invested in us. You don't get to fix my life with money. I didn't do it for you, he said softly. I did it because I couldn't stand the idea of this hotel without you in it. I stared at him, the man who'd come crashing into my life like a shirtless hurricane, armed with flirtation, poetry, and French pastries. And damn it, I wanted him to stay. So I walked over, cupped his face, and kissed him like I meant it, like I chose him, like I didn't care who saw. Chapter 9. Sabotage, seduction, and the suite that wasn't ours. You ever feel like your life's finally falling into place? Right before it explodes? Yeah. That was me. Luca and I were good, too good. Like, giggling in the service elevator good. Stealing kisses behind potted plants. Sharing late-night desserts and pretending the city outside didn't exist. But the universe? She's a drama queen. It started with a room mix-up. We just finished an actual, real, no cameras, no flirting conversation about where we were going relationship-wise. Answer. dangerously close to boyfriend territory. Then I got called down to fix a guest complaint. I walked into room 912 expecting angry travelers and broken AC. Instead, I found a man in a bathrobe. My ex, Alec. Tall, smug, emotionally constipated Alec. "What the hell are you doing here?" I snapped. He blinked at me like I was the unexpected roach in his 5-star fantasy. "Oh, you still work here." Luca showed up seconds later, likely following the scent of drama. His shirt was halfway buttoned, his expression halfway murderous. Alex smirked. "And this must be the viral himbo." Luca stepped forward. "And this must be the emotionally unavailable mistake." I winced. "Guys." But Alec wasn't done. "You know, I always wondered how long it would take you to fall for someone loud enough to drown out your insecurities." Luca's jaw ticked. "I'd punch you, but the robe's doing all the damage for me." I dragged Luca out before the floor could turn into a battleground of masculinity and bath products. Back in the penthouse, the tension snapped like a rubber band. Luca paced. "Why didn't you tell me about him?" "I didn't know he'd show up." "You still should have warned me." "You were with that guy?" "Seriously. I was different then," I yelled. "You think I don't hate that version of me?" Silence. And then softly, too softly, "Do you hate who you are with me?" Felt like ice water down my spine. I walked over, grabbed his face, forced him to see me. "No. With you, I feel seen. Like I'm not just a customer service robot with anxiety and a caffeine addiction." His voice cracked. "Then don't push me away." I didn't. Instead, I pulled him in. We kissed. Fierce, frantic, full of all the words we were too scared to say. Clothes hit the floor. The bed didn't stand a chance. Neither did my willpower. And when we finally collapsed into each other, breathless and wrecked, Luca whispered, "I'm yours, Ethan. Whether we're viral or invisible, whether your ex is in room 912 or outer space, I'm yours." I didn't say it back. I showed him, again and again, until neither of us remembered our own names, just each other's. Chapter 10, Fire Alarms, Feelings, and a 5-star Proposal. It started with a fire alarm. Not metaphorical, an actual fire alarm. Blasting through the entire hotel at 6:03 a.m., dragging guests out of bed and into the lobby like a parade of cranky, half-dressed zombies. I stumbled out of the penthouse with Luca in tow. Both of us wearing last night's glow and matching hotel robes like a couple in a romance ad for fabric softener. Spoiler, we were not the most scandalous thing in the lobby. Alec was there. Again. Only this time arguing with the front desk staff about his diamond cufflinks. His voice was louder than the alarm. But then the alarm stopped, and something stranger happened. Music. Romantic. Slow. Way too dramatic string quartet music coming from the elevator. Everyone turned. And out stepped 4 violinists. A bellhop throwing flower petals like he was possessed. And my manager holding a mic. "Oh no," I muttered. Then came Luca. Fully dressed this time. In a tailored white suit and the most mischievous smile I'd ever seen. "Ethan Michael Green," he said, voice echoing through the marble lobby. "You once told me romance was for people with too much time and not enough common sense." I groaned. "I did say that. But then you stole my towels, made me feel feelings, and taught me that sarcasm is just another form of love language." A guest somewhere sniffled. Another clapped. "I came here for a soul-searching retreat," Luca said, stepping closer. But instead I found the most chaotic, brilliant, emotionally constipated front desk agent in Manhattan. And I am in love with him. Cue gasps. Applause. A faint "I knew it" from Mrs. Wallace in 309B. "Marry me," Luca said. "Or at least agree to move in with me and aggressively cuddle for the next few decades." I blinked. Is this a proposal?" He dropped to one knee, on a velvet room service tray. I laughed so hard I nearly fell over. "You're insane." "I know," he grinned. "But you're insane." My heart did this embarrassing flutter thing, and before I could chicken out, I said, "Yes." No hesitation, no doubts. Just pure, stupid, reckless joy. The lobby erupted. Champagne bottles popped. Someone, probably Reggie from security, started slow clapping like we'd won an Oscar. Later, we sat on the penthouse balcony, barefoot, eating leftover gala cake in our robes. Luca fed me a strawberry and said, "So, married at the hotel or somewhere ridiculous, like a hot air balloon over Central Park?" I grinned. "Let's start with moving in, then maybe elope, or maybe just stay here." He raised a brow. "Here? In the hotel? It's got everything we need," I said, curling into him. "Drama, room service, and the world's worst fire alarms." He kissed me slow and sweet. "And one unforgettable front desk agent. Cue credits. Cue string quartet. Cue love. Not perfect, not polished, but ridiculously, hilariously ours."